Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most famous, valuable, and heavily decorated sports brands on the entire planet, FC Barcelona. But listen, we aren't going to be looking at tactical formations or breaking down highlight reels today. Instead, we're going to uncover the fascinating history and the sheer geopolitical weight of this incredible organization together.
So, I want you to start by asking yourself a central question. Can a sports team be a nation? I know, it sounds kind of like a paradox, right? Sports are supposed to be an escape from the heavy realities of geopolitics. But as we're going to explore through our sources today, for millions of people, a football pitch became the literal only place they could legally exist as a distinct culture.
You know, you might have actually heard this famous phrase before, més que un club, which translates to more than a club. It was famously declared by club president Narcís de Carreras back in 1968. And here's the thing. This isn't just some clever marketing slogan invented in a boardroom to sell jerseys. It's actually a Trojan horse for understanding a profoundly deep cultural identity. It perfectly reflects the club's status as a receptacle for Catalan identity and resistance, which is something we are going to trace from its very inception all the way to the modern day.
So, here is our roadmap for today. First, the roots of Catalan identity. Second, surviving the Franco dictatorship. Third, the ultimate political rivalry. And finally, exporting the Catalan brand.
All right, Section 1, Roots of Catalan Identity. Before we can really understand the football club, we have to wrap our heads around a very specific sociological concept, and that is Catalanism. Basically, this is an open, flexible regional identity and nationalist movement. It's historically centered around the language, culture, and self-determination of Catalonia, which is a highly distinct region in Spain. And as our sources point out, it's an incredibly resilient identity. It's one that FC Barcelona adopted almost like a second skin.
The club was actually founded way back in 1899 by a Swiss man named Joan Gamper. Gamper's vision was to create an organization that truly embraced social integration, welcoming people regardless of their origins. And very early on, the club made a massive move. They shifted their official language from Castilian to Catalan. By doing this, Gamper embedded the club firmly in the local culture. It wasn't just a group of guys kicking a football in a park. It was quickly becoming this primary vehicle for collective Catalan cultural identification.
Moving on to Section 2, Surviving the Franco dictatorship.
So how exactly does a sports team act when its very identity is literally outlawed? Well, let's look at the severe escalation of oppression they faced. In 1925, under the Primo de Rivera dictatorship, the stadium was actually shut down for 6 months just because fans booed the Royal March. Then, in 1936, during the Civil War, club president Josep Sunyol was assassinated by Franco's troops without a trial. In 1938, the Italian Air Force bombed the club's offices. And by 1939, Catalonia was occupied. The Catalan flag, the language, and all signs of regional separatism were outright banned by Francisco Franco's regime. The club was even forced to remove the Catalan flag from its own crest.
And this whole situation brilliantly illustrates the concept of a counterpublic. Think about it. With the Catalan language being pushed into private homes and banned in the streets, the normal public sphere was completely stripped of Catalan expression. But the stadium, the Camp Nou, that became a counterpublic. It was the one safe haven where tens of thousands of people could gather, speak their own language out loud, and build solidarity. It bridged the gap, allowing marginalized groups to express their identity totally outside the oppressive eyes of the state.
There's this one fascinating historical anecdote that highlights exactly how mobilized this counterpublic really was. Picture this. It's a rainy Sunday in 1951. After a Barcelona win, the massive crowd leaves the stadium entirely on foot. They absolutely refuse to catch any trams, all to support an ongoing tram strike in the city. This collective boycott completely caught the Francoist authorities off guard. It proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Barcelona was standing up as a staunch defender of civil rights and freedoms for the Catalan people.
Which brings us to Section 3, the ultimate political rivalry.
Now, this intense historical backdrop, it didn't just stay in the stands. When Barcelona plays Real Madrid in the match known globally as El Clasico, you are essentially looking at a clash of historical symbols. On one side, FC Barcelona historically symbolized Catalan resistance, regionalism, and pro-democracy, often viewing themselves as victims of the regime. Real Madrid, on the other hand, was historically perceived as representing centralized power and a renewed unified Spain, closely associated with the Franco regime. Now, we aren't taking sides here at all, but it is absolutely vital to understand that for the fans, this was never just a game. It was a symbolic battle of political ideologies playing out on the pitch.
11-1, just let that scoreline sink in for a second.
In 1943, Barcelona faced Real Madrid in the semifinals of a major cup. Barcelona actually won the first leg 3-0, but before the second leg in Madrid, it was alleged that police entered the Barcelona locker room and threatened the players. Real Madrid then went on to win that match 11-1. Now, regardless of what exactly was said behind closed doors in that locker room, our sources note that this specific match permanently cemented a massive narrative: Madrid as the team of the dictatorship and Barcelona as its victims.
So the crucial point here is that the players knew exactly what this rivalry meant. Flash forward to 1973. International superstar Johan Cruyff was signed for a world record fee. And he publicly told the press that he chose Barcelona over Real Madrid specifically because he could not bring himself to play for a club associated with Franco. To cement his loyalty to Catalan culture, he even named his son Jordi after the patron saint of Catalonia. Cruyff went on to help the team win the league in his very first season, proving that holding an anti-fascist identity and delivering pure sporting brilliance could absolutely go hand in hand.
All right, our final stop, Section 4, exporting the Catalan brand. So, Franco passes away in 1975 and Spain transitions into a democracy. The big question is, how did a club so defined by local oppression transform into the global phenomenon it is today? Well, Barcelona maintained its relevance by really embracing that open, flexible definition of Catalanism we talked about earlier. Today, the club uses its FC Barcelona Foundation to actively support human rights and defend democratic freedoms globally. It's this incredible balancing act. They recruit the absolute best international talent from around the world to win trophies, all while ensuring the club's leadership and its core values remain firmly rooted in the local Catalan elite.
And this careful balance is really put to the test during modern political crises. Take the 2017 Catalan independence referendums, for example. When those were denied by the central government, massive protests erupted. The club had to navigate this incredibly carefully. Officially, Barcelona supports Catalonia's right to self-determination and a democratic process, standing up for human rights and liberty. However, they remain totally impartial on the actual question of full secession. So they act as a defender of democratic rights without alienating their global fan base by taking an extreme political side.
And to say this strategy of balancing deep, local authenticity with global appeal is lucrative would be an understatement. Barcelona is currently valued at $5.6 billion. It proves that you can be an anti-establishment symbol and a massive global capitalist powerhouse at the exact same time. That distinct, rooted identity is exactly what makes the brand so compelling to millions of fans worldwide. Which leaves us with this final, truly profound thought to consider. If a football club, just a sports team, can preserve a nation's soul, protect its language, and shield its identity during its absolute darkest historical hours, what other cultural institutions are silently shaping our geopolitical world today? The next time you sit down to watch a match, just remember that sometimes what you're seeing is truly much, much more than a club. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Explainer, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.